Future perfect continuous tense. By 6, they will have been playing netball for 2 hours. By the time my father comes home at 2, we will have been playing card games for 3 hours. By next month, they will have been going to USA for 3 years. At 4 o'clock, the baby will have been crying for 1 hour. How long will you have been dating on November 10th? Will they have been working in the company for 3 years? She will not have been waiting. Will they have been waiting for 2 hours when we come back? Will have you been working in this company for 6 years by the end of this month? Will I have been learning English for 5 years when I finish this college? She will not have been reading. By the end of this month, will I have been living with this for 6 months? She will not have been reading a newspaper tomorrow. When will the cast have been attending for 3 hours? When will Rita have been practicing for 3 hours? I will not have been going to England for a holiday next month. By the end of this month, I will not have been working for the company for 3 years. What will the organization have been searching for 2 years? When will Daniel have been giving stuff for 6 hours? She will have been sleeping all morning. By the end of the year, she will not living in India for 5 years. Where will they have been working for 5 years? Where will your brother have been staying before he goes to college in October? You will not have been playing card games all day long. At 3 o'clock, we will have been waiting you for 1 hour. How long will the pigeon have been staying on the wires? Why will the cat have been chasing the red for an hour? He will have been sleeping at home for 3 hours when we arrives. He will have been playing the piano for 5 years when he turned 19. Where will he have been watching for 6 years? Why will I have been staring at the vase for 2 hours? Will you have been speaking French for 3 years by the end of this year? Will you have been making a cake in the kitchen? How long will the bird have been living in this nest? Will we have been staying in this house for 6 years next month? Will I have been regretting this mistake I made? Will they have been playing netball since morning? How long will the group have been investigating the case? He will have been working when you will come here for lunch tomorrow. I will have been studying when you will be in the exam. I will not have been shopping on Thursday, you can come to see me. She will not have been living there for a month, it is temporary. Who will have been watching the bikes? We will not have been going for a picnic. They will not have been living there for 3 years by the end of this month. Who will have been training for the show? He will not have been seeing her, because he is angry. Just now she will have been listening to everything. She will have been studying science tomorrow. Will they have been dancing for an hour? She will not have been staying in London next summer. They will have been teaching French for 3 years by the end of this year. Who will have been running around the house for 2 hours? By midnight we will have been studying for exams for 7 hours. We will have been living in Colombo for 3 years. When I finish this school, I will have been learning Hindi for 2 years. By the end of this month, we will have been studying for the school for 6 years. Will I have been giving this stuff for 2 years next month? I will have been living in India for 8 years by 2025. Ronald will have been studying at the library for 5 hours by 7 o'clock. What will you have been doing for 3 years? What will the group have been making since 2010? He will have been traveling for a year when they come back here. When Linda finishes university, Linda will have been learning her major for 8 years because of her unsuccessful lessons. He won't have been acting like this for 3 years for nothing. Johnson won't have been practicing long enough to pass the test. If Lincoln will buy a Jeep for himself, he will not have been spending his time on the roads all day. Persona is not going to have been doing workouts for over 4 hours. Michelle won't have been taking this spot for a year before he goes to another company. We won't have been playing netball for 4 hours. Are Daniel and Geisha going to have been being married for 20 years by 2020? Will Milan have been feeling sad by the time I make a surprise for him? They won't have been learning for 3 years at 7 a.m. tomorrow. The kid won't have been going with their class when our parents come this weekend. I will have been playing cricket tomorrow afternoon. I will not have been reading for 3 weeks when I finish this book. Sandra won't have been drinking wine for 3 years next month. Janet won't have been learning enough skills to enter the trial round. I will have been working for 6 hours by the time the client comes. He will have been sleeping for 1 hour when she gets home. They won't have been talking with each other for 6 years next week. Sandra won't have been making rice for very long. At 3 o'clock, we will have been waiting you for 1 hour. He will have been sleeping at home for 3 hours when we arrive. You won't have been writing this letter for a year next year. They'll not have been staying here for even a month this summer. She will have been playing the piano for 10 years when she turned 25. She will have been bringing her certificates. The manager won't have been watching the factory for 6 hours. She won't have been using the toilet since 8 a.m. He will have been wiping my car. They will have been teaching French for 3 years by the end of this year. Grandma won't have been sitting on the couch for 2 hours. She won't have been doing the same things for 3 hours. I will have been traveling to India by this time next week. When I am at school, my family will have been flying to Sydney. Our son won't have been listening to music for 6 hours. Liana won't have been washing her pants for a month. He will have been seeing it. She will have been retaining the movie. The worker won't have been working long enough for retirement. My neighbor won't have been earning any money for 5 months. I will not have been shopping on Wednesday. She will not have been playing netball tomorrow evening. Froster will have been telling scary stories for 4 months next Sunday. The goat will have been living in our house for 5 years next month. We will not have been going for a picnic. They will not have been living there for 3 years by the end of this month. By May 10th, we will have been driving this car for 2 years. By 2020, I will have been moving around the country for 3 years. I will not have been staying in New York next summer. She will not have been studying French next year. The group will have been bringing joy to kids for 3 years next January. She will have been faking your disease for 6 years next week. The president will not have been talking tomorrow. He will not have been searching for a new issue on internet tomorrow afternoon. By next month, they will have been making the same bread for a year. You will have been giving out free food for 2 years next Friday. Will you have been studying French? He will have been showing the models. They will have been fighting for their right for 7 years next month. The victim will have been searching for a chance to prove his innocence for 6 years next Monday. She will have been finishing the work. Will it have been raining for 2 hours? She will have been buying old items for 2 years. By April 10th, I will have been making the best bread in the town for 3 years. Will she have been teaching English for 5 years next year? Will the baby have been playing with toys for 2 hours? By Friday, the 3 teams will have been fighting each other for 5 years. By 2022, the satellite will have been observing Jupiter for 10 years. Will you have been speaking French for 3 years by the end of this year? Will she have been making a cake in the kitchen? The teacher will have been teaching us for 3 years tomorrow. Their parents will have been buying them gifts for a year. Will they have been playing netball since morning? Will they have been working for a long time? By 3 p.m., we will have been going for 10 hours. Juliana will have been running through 40 states next month. By April, I will have been studying English for 2 years. I will have been going to America. I will have been working in this company for 6 years next month. By next year, they will have been hiding the truth for 3 years. I will have been buying a land. I will have been losing my book.